My name is Heather, and this is the fourth video in a 5-part video series telling the story of my 5 losses. If you have any questions after this video, please feel free to visit my Facebook page. It's Glory Baby Ministry, Southeast Houston, Texas. In the last video, we left off talking about my daughter Scarlett, who is my infant loss. This video will be about my son Trevor, who, as far as we know, is the only son that we ever had. So, with Trevor, like I said in the last video, I found out I was pregnant, and I was not happy about it. Well, I found out I was pregnant a few days before my grandfather passed away on my dad's side. Well, after my grandfather passed away, I decided that I wanted to go to the funeral, so my mom and my stepdad helped me out with that and paid for me to be able to go because it was in a different state. And I decided I wanted to take some ashes to my dad. So the person who had been my best friend at this time but is no longer my friend had some of my daughter's ashes, and I wanted to give some to my dad because he didn't have any, and I didn't have time to go separate the ashes that I had so he could have some. So my husband asked her husband if we could have the ashes, and then we would give them some more later whenever I got back, and they said that was, or he said that that was okay. So that's what we agreed to do, and left. I went to the funeral, basically posted before I left because the funeral was going to be on my birthday. I was already devastated about losing my daughter. Then I lost my grandfather. Then found out that his funeral was going to be on my birthday, and it was just a lot. So I posted on Facebook right before we left, or right before I left with my daughter Rebecca, saying that I was done with the drama. I was done with talking bad about people. I was really bad about it. I know that it's wrong, and thank goodness I don't do it now, but I used to be really bad about talking bad about others. And I was still young and hung out with the wrong people, and I realized once I stopped hanging out with those people that I dramatically changed. Well, my best friend at the time did not like that. I posted that instead of telling her directly because it was towards her. And so she decided to make up a bunch of stuff while I was gone and make a bunch of people mad at me. I came home and pretty much had lost all my friends in a weekend. I was really hurt because I didn't understand, because everything I was going through with my loss, I thought that people would be a little bit more, like, loving. I guess I wanted people to feel sorry for me because of what I'd been through. I didn't understand how all these people could talk bad about me after I just lost my daughter. Well, my mom, and my husband were the only ones at this time who knew that I was pregnant. And my dad, whenever I went to Florida, for the funeral, I told him that I was pregnant. And so my ex-best friend, took that information and decided to use it against me. I purposely wasn't telling people that I was pregnant because I just lost my daughter and I didn't want to be judged or treated badly for being pregnant so soon after, especially because I wasn't even trying to get pregnant and I wasn't really happy about being pregnant. Well, she told some people, and it started a bunch of drama, rumors about me, lies that the baby wasn't my husband's. She started a lot of stories, and it caused a lot of stress, and I ended up having what's called stress bleeding at 8 weeks. And basically that is whenever you're so stressed out that your body is kind of going into labor without the contractions, you just bleed. And some people just have bleeding in pregnancy. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, but the doctor flat out told me that it was stress bleeding. So he told me, asked me what was going on in my life, if I had any things going on. I told him about my loss. I told him about losing my friend. I told him about all the rumors being spread about me, about my grandfather passing away, just everything I was going through. And, basically the doctor was like, I mean, you have a lot, but you have to try to stay as calm as you can because you will lose this baby if you keep being stressed out. So I decided to cut off everybody, which I did, besides my mom and my dad and my husband. And I kind of talked to my sister a little bit. And besides that, I dropped everybody. And it helped. I mean, it honestly did. I didn't feel stressed out. I felt fine. I felt happy. And then, 8 weeks later, 16 weeks, I started to realize I haven't felt this baby move. And for me, that's weird because all my pregnancies, I felt the baby move by then. Didn't think anything of it till 18 weeks. Then I realized I have not felt a thing was like, something's not right. But I just kind of let it go. I had a doctor's appointment the next week, so I was like, I'll just wait for my doctor's appointment. Then I was taking a shower and a blood clot fell out. And I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, like, it's kind of weird I haven't felt movement and now I had a blood clot. I should probably go to the doctor to make sure everything's okay. So I went to the hospital, and I remember they did an ultrasound and they turned down the volume on the heartbeat all the way. And it's like, as soon as they did that, I knew. So I remember I was very stoic. I went back to the room after my ultrasound, and my mom was in there, and she asked me if everything was okay. And I told her the baby didn't have a heartbeat. And she said, are you sure? And I said, yes, they turned down the thing all the way. And she said, you don't know that means that there's no heartbeat. You don't know that. And I was like, well, whenever I came in at 8 weeks, they didn't do that. So I think that means there's no heartbeat. The doctor came in and said, I have some bad news. And very bluntly, I said, the baby's dead. I didn't cry. It just came out. And the doctor and my mom both looked at me like they were shocked. And he was like, yes, I'm sorry. The baby has no heartbeat. It's weird because now it's really emotional, like, thinking back on it and reliving it. But then I was so, like, okay. Pretty much just ignored what was happening. But, yeah, it was horrible moment for me. Basically, he told me, well, I'm going to make you a doctor's appointment for tomorrow. Go see your doctor tomorrow morning, and they'll confirm. It's like, okay. So I went to the doctor the next morning, confirmed. For sure, baby was gone. There was no way to tell the sex because the baby was wrapped in a ball. So we wouldn't know until after I delivered. Well, he gave me two options. One, I could go forth with, getting induced and have the baby. Or I could wait and see how long it took for my body to register I had lost the baby and then have the baby. Well, I didn't want to wait. I was terrified if I waited, like, how long could it be before my body realized? Or, like, I even asked him, and he's like, I can't tell you, I don't know. And so I was like, I don't want to wait. Like, what if, like, it's 2-3 months from now and I'm walking around with my baby inside of me, and, like, by the time I have the baby, I won't know, like, anything, because the baby might be, like, whatever might happen. I don't know what happened. And so I was like, induce me. I was like, I mean, it's not even a question. So he set up to induce me the next day, which was Good Friday. So I was induced on Good Friday. And after 10 hours, baby was born. And as soon as he was born, looking at my mom and my husband, I knew. I remember my husband was looking, and my mom was like, just like rubbing his arm, basically, like, and I could tell by the way she was looking too, it was like, I'm sorry. I felt like I failed him when I found out it was a boy. Of all of my losses, this is definitely the one that I felt the most guilty about. I felt guilty for not wanting the baby to start with. I felt guilty for losing our first boy. I felt guilty for basically, like, being depressed. I had every right, and I know that now. I know I had every right to be depressed because of what happened with my daughter and my grandfather and losing friends, and I was going through a lot. I mean, I had every right to feel the way I did. It's just, at that time, felt guilty for it. Like, I was wrong for the way that I handled things. And that was, I think, the hardest part of all of it, was the guilt. And then my husband, it was hard for him because he wanted a boy so bad. Like, that's the only thing he's ever wanted is a son. And he loves our daughters. It's a man thing. You want a son, you want someone to carry on your name, and especially in his case, being adopted, that's all he has is, children. And so having that bloodline, he wanted it to be carried on through a male. And, who's to say our daughters won't end up having sons one day, but I think that's something he just really wanted was a son. And that was a really hard part of it for me. Well, he passed because of this thing called gastroparesis, which I hope I am saying that right. It is when your organs in your stomach are on the outside of your body. And there is a survival chance of it. There are a lot of babies who are born with it and they just have surgery after they're born and they survive. But there is a higher chance of babies passing from it than living. And he just happened to pass. So they put that on his death certificate that that's how he passed. And that was really difficult too because he was considered a stillbirth. And he had actually made it to like 17 and a half weeks. So he didn't actually pass until about 5 or 6 days before I ended up having him. So I had found out that he passed whenever I went to the hospital. He literally had only been gone for like a few days. And I just didn't know. That's the crazy part of it. And that's why I say, like, please go to the doctor if you're pregnant. If you find out that you're pregnant, please make a doctor's appointment as soon as possible. That was one of the things I regretted about it, too, was I never went to the doctor while I was pregnant with him. I was so depressed about losing my daughter that I wasn't really taking care of the pregnancy. I wasn't trying that hard. I don't know that could have prevented anything. But I do wish I had gone to the doctor and gotten checkups, and they could have told me he had gastroparesis before I lost and found out. And I really hope I'm saying that word right. If I am not saying it right, I am sorry. I can't even spell it right. I just know what it is. And it was a very hard time losing him. And then after we lost him, things went downhill from there. It got really bad. My husband and I lost our house. We split up. We ended up getting back together, but we split up for about 2 months because we were having a lot of issues with each other again. We decided to fight through them and to make it work. And we did. But we still were having underlying issues. We still were looking for things and other people and other things, emotionally for me, physically for him. And it took us, a while to finally realize that we needed those things in each other, I decided to get on birth control. I decided I had too many losses and I didn't want to go through it again. So I had decided that was the best option for me, was birth control. Around Scarlett's birthday is whenever Glory Baby Ministry was born. So her first birthday, we had kind of toyed with the idea before that. We had kind of talked about it a few times after she had passed away, about helping other families through their loss. But after Trevor, and then after her first birthday is whenever it really formed. It really started. It really became a thing that we were doing. We ended up doing a fundraiser for it, and we ended up donating money to the hospital. We were going to use it for a mom's trip, but then I got discouraged because people started not talking to me anymore, and then I was like, nobody's going to go on this trip, and we did this fundraiser for this money for that reason, so let's donate it to the hospital that she passed away at instead. So I think I could think to do. We basically, the start of the ministry, I don't really consider it then. That's just when the idea came about. That's when we started trying with it. But all we were doing at that point was getting to know people. We weren't doing all the things that we do now. We basically were just trying to have a support group. A group of people who had gone through loss. And I think at first it was more for me. It was more that I wanted that. I wanted other people to talk to. My husband wasn't involved really at first. He was kind of, but it was more I was the one who was hey, I want you to be involved. And he was on the fence, like, I don't really know. I don't really like talking to people. So it was just kind of like a more my thing and my, like, I need a support group of women who have lost children. And I made some great friends from, you know, the beginning of it. But that's pretty much as far as we got. Was, you know, the very beginning of it was very rocky because we weren't really in a good place with God. We weren't really like set where we needed to be spiritually. And so it was kind of like a idea more than anything else. So after I decided to get on birth control, that will be the next video, the next story, which I will actually be doing the next video today. I decided to go ahead and do both of these videos today. And if you're wondering why I didn't get as emotional with this video as I did with, you know, previous, I think it's because I'm starting to feel stronger telling these stories. I actually feel good. I feel so good sharing this with y'all. I feel empowered. I feel like I can really help people by sharing everything. And I feel like all these messages I'm getting from people, by the way, thank y'all for those so much, telling me how brave I am and how I'm inspiring people, different things that I'm inspiring people to do. That's making me feel like so amazing right now. Honestly though, like, please realize that it's all God. Like I said, I would not be here today, and you're going to find out in the next video why I keep saying that. But I would not be here today. I would not have this ministry. I would not be doing the things that I'm doing if it was not for my faith. If it wasn't for God literally leading me and my husband through everything that we're doing. And I just want y'all to know, just like I say every single video, if you really need someone to pray with you, if you want to tell me your story, you have any questions about my story, if there's anything that, you know, you need to talk about, please feel free to message me. My Facebook page is Glory Baby Ministry, Southeast Houston, Texas.